Hi, this is Val Campbell, and I want to welcome you to the First Chapter podcast. Today we're going to meet a new author. So without any further delay, let's jump right into it.
I would like you to help me with marketing the book and promoting it. And one of the difficulties I'm running into is I'm not writing a novel here. I wrote two books, and I've spent 50 years doing trade show marketing. And I went to school at Southern Illinois University and studied under a guy named Buckminster Fuller.
Oh,
You
right.
familiar with him? And he was on staff, and he was the creator of the geodesic domes and did a
Yep.
whole lot of other
Famous
he was
guy.
very innovative things. Did the World Exposition in Montreal for the U.S. Pavilion, which was a a geodesic dome, which then Disney copied for Orlando. But in any case, when I graduated with a degree in design, I said, well, what am I going to do now? Yeah, design what? What he taught me was the ability to think through problems, whatever that design problem might be. And as a process of thinking through a problem and coming up with solutions. And it took me 20 years to realize the value of that and how it applied. I was from Chicago. I went back home after getting my degree and I looking for jobs. And lo and behold, a friend said, why don't you design trade show exhibits at McCormick Place? And at that time, 1973, McCormick Place burned to the ground and they rebuilt it. And it was the Houseware Show, which was number one show in the United States at the time. So everybody needed a new exhibit. So being an exhibit designer, and what do I know about trade show exhibits? And that's how I started designing trade show exhibits. And from that, went on to be a project manager, a salesman, and president of my company, the largest exhibit company in the United States, owned by the Greyhound Corporation. I was out of my element. Believe me, the fish out of water. I needed an MBA degree to really keep up with that. But sales is where I made a whole lot of money. And my wife always pulled me aside and said, Larry, if you'd only concentrate on selling, we'd be rich. And she was right, because I was always looking for what's next. But I then dedicated myself to my industry. I became president of the Exhibit Designer and Producer Association and got involved with three major initiatives that today are our new way of doing things. And I was the first American president of the International Association of Exhibit Suppliers. These are all the exhibit companies in the world who joined together. It's called IFAS, the International Federation of Exhibition Services. And the one thing they pulled me aside, and this was some years ago, and they said, you're not going to be like Trump, are you? And I was stunned by that. But now I know exactly what they were asking me. We don't need you to take over and change our whole thing here, but they really did need, and I did a little bit, but when I completed my term, and this is over a period because you have to be vice president and then serve on it's 10 years before you can be president. I reached out to all of these exhibit supply owners and throughout the world, and I said, tell me, when I come to your country, how should I act differently? What should I do different? What is unique about doing business in your part of the world? And lo and behold, they all replied like immediately. I said, oh shit, I got to write a book now. I was thinking about it, but I was never that serious that they gave me all this input so quickly. But the problem was that they all gave me their responses in their own format and way of thinking. So I had to change and what they said and answer 12 basic questions. And so that there's 45 countries. So 45 chapters needed to have a format that was consistent, not just willy-nilly. So I did this in 2005, and then the first edition, and the second edition. This is the third edition. And the reason it's the third edition is because things changed in our industry so drastically that what I wrote 8 years ago wasn't valid anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but in conclusion, the most important component of the book wasn't so much the venues, the regulations, the exhibit design, all those technical things, but it was the ability for an exhibitor to engage in a different culture, the ability to introduce themselves and act. Uh, and Americans are the worst. Believe me, they go into their elevator pitch immediately.
Sure.
But so, come on, you get to know this person first. But every country has a little different twist about how they do it. Now,
So
me telling you all this stuff, it sounds like there's some major differences in 45 countries. The truth is, most of them are very much alike.
yeah.
It's very unique things that you just more so what you don't do in an Asian culture. You don't slap somebody on the back. You know, they don't want to be touched or hugged. If you were in Europe, hugging is, as an Italian or a Greek.
Unless you're German.
Well, yeah, the Germans. You're right, and Austrian. But it's funny about
German.
Austrians. They want to when they talk to you. They're right up in your face.
Mhm.
And I don't know what that is. And Russians do not show their teeth. You watch Putin or any of them today, you'll never see their teeth.
Interesting.
Teeth is a sign of weakness. Strength is not showing your teeth. Now they will, in a casual moment, but formally and many of my American friends who I worked with when we did a lot of work in Moscow, not anymore, were saying, boy, they just don't like me. It's not that they don't like you. They don't, that's not their nature to smile and hug or whatever. So understand that. And if that's what you want to sell something, you're going to have to, when in Rome, do as the Romans.
You
So
know, what
now
I,
I really my passion is the input. Believe me, if I ever wanted to get rich, and I'm sure you feel the same, but being an author is not the path. It's a passion. It's not a profit unless you get into that other level of big time, which
yeah, if somebody comes along and decides they want to actually produce the next Landman series or something like that out of your book or something, but for most of us, that's not the deal. We do it out of passion. But you know what? I'm hearing you say something very interesting is that you wrote this book through the lens of the exhibit industry, but this is really about the different cultures and perspectives and how to do business around the world.
right. Trade shows, meetings, any place where you're going to sell internationally, this applies. Although it's specifically targeted to trade shows and convention industry.
You know, developed really, not just ran, but I developed marketing teams twice to different companies of one was 50,000 individuals and the other one was 15,000 individuals in 50 countries. And we spanned the globe and every culture, every situation. And I used to tell, see, we had very few rules, but one of those is we will respect and love each other. And what I found, and then of course everybody spins off of that, right? You know, everything, you know, you can pretty much fit a lot of behavior into that. But what I used to find, and I would tell them, I said, if you put yourself out there, like-hearted individuals will find each other. I'm just saying, you know, all over the world, you know, Muslims,
Right.
Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Jews, whatever, you know, I don't care if you were African, Asian, Indian, you know, where South America, wherever, these people all got along great and supported each other. We've rarely had issues. If it was because we were doing podcasts and somebody would jump in, and occasionally we'd get somebody that would come in and it would really rare would do something inappropriate within the in the group, and then I would just quickly just cut them out and move them on because, but you're right. It was what you said. I think was that everybody is there's a lot of similarity even when you're talking about different faiths and different cultures. They those people weren't the ones that were pounding drums and trying to create issues. They were just trying to work and get along with everybody. And interesting. So how did you make a transition from that world into writing? What
Well,
prompted you to do that?
I guess retirement. Yeah, after 50 years doing this, and I was writing for our industry magazine. It's called Exhibit City News. Wrote a lot of articles on the industry. So writing then became a not easy, but it was something I enjoyed. And I'm left-handed. Left-handed people have the right side of the brain. They're creative, and my creative instincts, I think, were fed by writing. And my wife, who's a master's degree, criticizes my writing constantly, but so be it. I thank God for spell check and computers to help me along in that regard. That's not my strength, but writing is enjoyable. And in my case here, before I die, I really want to communicate this. The name of the book that we're not talking about is called The Invisible Industry. And it's the invisible industry because nobody knows about it. It's a $1.6 trillion industry in the United States, yet nobody went to school to learn how to do it. I'll back up later and tell you I started a master's degree at FIT in New York City 17 years ago in Bemidji State and Bemidji, Minnesota. They're the only two schools in the whole United States who talk about trade shows. Even marketing classes at colleges throughout they don't even hardly mention trade shows as being part of that marketing mix.
Oh, huge.
And yet, there's 7 components to marketing. I don't get into an elevator pitch about this, but the most expensive of all the 7 is trade shows. I mean, it's outrageously expensive.
Wow.
Everybody does it because one thing happens at a trade show that doesn't happen in any other areas. The element of emotion kicks in. Face-to-face communication is emotion. And back in the days of COVID, and everybody was doing Zoom calls, I used to really get bugged when they'd have 6 faces on the screen, and half of them are on their computer. They're not even they're listening, but they're really not paying attention to what's being said. Now, if I was with you in person and just decided I'm going to go on my phone, what an insult!
Yeah.
To be doing that in front of you. You would never do that and people wouldn't do it at a trade show either. But if you can inch your way to developing an emotional relationship with someone, the odds of your selling whatever it is you're selling are enhanced tremendously because they trust.
Yeah. You have to build rapport.
They like you, they trust you.
Yeah.
And that, regardless of what it is, maybe your product stinks, but they like you, they trust you. You better work hard on improving your product. But that's the magic of trade shows, emotion. But in any case, these 2 books, and I think I talked to you about the trade show from one country to the next is the main, only because this is the newest one. And the other one is just a year old. But together, I'd like to promote them as it's kind of a package. One is the industry as a whole, and the other is more international with differences.
So as we're kind of leaving here today, give me do you have both of those books? Can you hold them up and
Yeah, here's the
we're getting some cutout from your yeah, hold that up a little bit right in front of you. Well, the problem is your
see it
background. Yep, trade shows. Okay, that's the one that we're promoting today that we're talking about.
right. This is the one that
The
uh,
invisible industry. Very cool.
and that's iceberg.
Okay.
That what lays below the surface is the unknown
Right.
gem.
Awesome. Awesome. This was
But
so much fun and very interesting, and I will be able to take this and
see, I have
would you
no
tip your
problem.
Larry? Would you tip your camera down just a little
Yeah.
bit? Yeah, I'm missing your. Okay, perfect. Uh, so in parting here, what would you say that would encourage people who maybe aren't in the exhibit industry or something to pick up your book and read it? What are they going to get from this? That's a life
Well,
lesson.
I think the invisible industry starts with almost nearly a third of the book is all about world fairs and inventors and inventions. And that in and of itself is kind of a novel in wow. Edison did that, and Otis the elevator, and he used to go to shows, and he would cut a rope, and it would drop this platform down below a guy, and it would stop just before hitting him. A dangerous demonstration, but he did it and that's how Otis elevator came and claim to fame, and stories of that nature. And this all then evolved from world fairs, which sold anything, any idea, to industry specific trade shows. The electronic industry, the medical industry has 5,000 trade shows a year in the United States. They're a whole different animal in terms of how you design and how they sell. Uh, but with that is an understanding of how this applies to your industry, whoever you is. And if you're going to go internationally, how important it is to really recognize that you just one size doesn't fit all. You can't act the same and doing what you did in Las Vegas at a show in Paris or Dubai. But the book is about adjusting yourself when you go to another country. Now, in Europe, many of the rules and regulations are pretty similar. Asia, the same. But North America, Canada, uh, extremely different than the rest. So, as an international person, the biggest problem today is getting their visas permitted to come to the United States.
Yeah.
And there's some barriers that are really restricting, especially with Trump with all his trade things going on. Uh, not good for the international trade. But this helps you understand why it is, and not bitch about, let's change it. So I am willing to any ideas you could come up with beyond this to help me market. I'm willing to pay for you to help me if you give me your idea or proposal on what and how far you think you can go to help
Larry,
push along.
I'm willing to help you as much as I can as a patron of the show, but I'm not really in that business. But maybe through this, we can because there are some people that are contacting me that are agents and booking agents and things for authors. I think
Hmm.
that I think one of the things that may spin out of this is actually a forum to help authors to sift through some of this stuff because I agree with you. It
It's
is
amazing.
it's a mess, and the first thing that happens after you post online that you're an author is you just get bombarded with all of these, and most of them are
Right.
foreign, right? And they're just like, oh, I promote your book, I do this, and I've talked to a number of them, and I've got enough experience, just like you, that you realize, no, these people they don't really know what they're doing.
At least it's a start, but it's why the book is called The Invisible Industry.
Well, everybody, Larry Kulchawik, what a great resource and an amazing guy. And we will have all of the links to his books and the where you can find this podcast and the audio of this on Spotify down below. And Larry, it's been wonderful, and we are definitely going to keep in touch. This isn't a goodbye; it's a farewell, and we will continue to work on this in the days to come. Let's strike up this conversation about different ways of marketing in that.
Yeah. Well, have a look at my website, www.larrykulchawik.com. And it really goes into depth about the books. And one thing we didn't talk about, and you can see it in my website, I developed a RFP template. And that is, if you're going to request exhibit services overseas, here are the questions to ask. And the template is translated into 13 different languages.
Wow.
The template is in English. English is the official language of business, but there are key words in our industry and terms that are translated: the word counter, the word carpet, the word. And when you're asking someone for a price to do an exhibit in their country, you don't have a lot of time to waste asking, what did you mean by this?
Right.
So this translation helps cut through the communication and make sure we're clearly understanding what it is that you're asking for. And it's in the book and the website as well. So, Val, thank you so much for the time. And
My pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. I'll get you this. I'll get this produced, and I'll get you the links within the next week or so here. And brilliant. Good job, Larry.
thank you.
Talk to
See
you
you
later.
now.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Trade Shows from One Country to the Next by Larry Kulchawik. Forward. Today, we are all part of a world marketplace. Products and services are traded from one country to the next and are intertwined to create complex supply chains on a world scale. Introducing new products and services to the world marketplace is not an easy task. Starting with world fairs, the concept of a trade show has evolved around the world. Today, most trade show events are industry specific. There are 13,000 trade shows held each year in the U.S. alone. The shows range from auto shows, houseware shows, machine shows, computer shows, food shows, clothing shows, music shows, to the funeral directors convention. You name an industry and there's a trade show held to support it. Trade shows are often called the invisible industry, since most are B2B, business to business events, and are privately held, and they're not open to the public. They're not advertised like B2C, business to consumer events, auto show, boat shows, sporting goods, etc. Most shows are organized by industry associations and are held at a convention center located in most every major city in the world. Each World Convention Center and show organizer has their own rules, regulations, and cultural differences when organizing their shows. If you're planning to participate in a trade show outside of your country of origin, you surely must understand and respect the differences when exhibiting your products and for engaging face to face to sell your services. What worked for your exhibit presentation in Las Vegas will not work the same for a show in Paris or in Dubai. One size does not fit all. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. So, what exactly is it that the Romans do? This is the purpose of writing trade shows from one country to the next. The book reviews the venues, the city attractions, the shows, the regulations, exhibit design, cultural differences when selling at a trade show outside of your country of origin. The book reviews 45 different countries. The chapters for each country were provided by the owners of exhibit supplier companies who are from each country. No one person or organization is a trade show expert, me included, for doing a trade show in every city of the world. Trusting the advice of a native exhibit design company was the source of the info shared here. Now, being an American, Larry Kulchawik could not help but share his personal experiences for many of the countries from an American point of view. He does so at the beginning of each select chapter. Of all the countries who organize industry trade shows and events, the American method of organizing a trade show and an event are the most different from any other country in the world. These differences can be costly if you don't know and understand why they are what they are. For the most part, all countries throughout the world follow the European model for trade show organization. The trade show events in North America are organized very differently than that of the rest of the world. They follow the American model for organizing their shows. So in a nutshell, here are the major differences. The American model. The exhibit space is sold in square feet. The European model. The exhibit space is sold in square meters. The American model exhibit spaces they're called booths, and they're arranged in 10-foot increments. The European model exhibit spaces are called stands and arranged in any shape in meters. In America, the associations hire a show contractor for services. In Europe, associations work with the venue and the organizer to arrange the exhibit floor. In the United States or America, the exhibit freight must be unloaded and delivered by the official show contractor, charged by weight. In Europe, freight can be delivered direct to the show floor and unloaded by the carpenters. In America, exhibit walls and heights are restricted per space. In Europe, exhibit walls can be positioned in cubic content throughout the stand. In America, the exhibit floor is carpeted with a pad. In Europe, the exhibit floor is usually a raised wooden floor and then covered with a thin carpet. In America, strong exhibit identity and signage with graphics. In Europe, subtle exhibit identity and minimal graphics. In America, open exhibit space design. In Europe, enclosed exhibit design spaces with offices. In America, minimal catering. In Europe, most exhibits have a bar and are catered very formally. In America, more unscheduled meetings in the open space. In Europe, most meetings are scheduled and are private. In America, entry badges and pre-registered attendees. In Europe, entry fees charged and there are no badges. Today, there's an ongoing discussion about the show rules and regulations. They're asking, which is better, European or the American model? In my opinion, the World Show Organizer would like to see greater similarities when preparing events worldwide. In the next 8 years, I believe we will see a single model. Those who manage or who own the events will drive the model to be used. Now, Reed Exposition in the UK is a leading show organizer who uses a combo model for show organization. In time, hopefully both models will blend to be one. The theme of the book, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's only a different way. Respect and understand what is different, and you're on your way to success.